We all know Microsoft owns Blizzard, right? So World of Warcraft is one of their games now. So what they do with how they're going to price games is very important going forward, because Daddy Microsoft can totally tell Blizzard how to price their shit at this point. Xbox is pushing us past the point of no return. What is happening? No one will be spared. Let's see what Xbox and Microsoft are doing when it comes to how they're going to price games going forward.
Today I've got a banging proposition for you. So, do you want to spend $80 for new games on a console that nobody wants? That seems a little bit insane, but it's actually what? Well, Xbox have just dropped on us with their new global price hike. Now look, I expect $80 to eventually become the new normal for big AAA games in the next console gen. I was wrong. It's sooner. Nintendo obviously moved first with their Mario Kart pricing.
Yeah, I knew Nintendo was going to be the first. Once I saw Nintendo and how they were pricing out Mario Kart, I was like, well, shit, this is going to, everyone's going to do this now. Everyone's going to raise their prices. Now, his little line that he drops at the beginning of this about how nobody wants the console, I don't think Microsoft really gives a shit about selling Xboxes, I'll be honest. Actually, every Xbox they sell, I'm pretty sure they're losing money on. What Microsoft cares about, and it's become pretty evident because they're making these games available to everybody basically now, is selling out Game Pass subscriptions. That's the main thing. They're selling Game Pass subscriptions. That's all they care about at this point. I personally have a Game Pass subscription. I love it. I think it's a great value. And a lot of other people do. I forgot how many Game Pass subs they have at this point. And there's always been that rumor out there, hey, if WoW starts to fall out, does Game Pass start to cover the WoW sub? Is that ever going to be a thing? I would love that personally because I pay for both right now. We'll see. But Game Pass is the end game for Microsoft at this point. They don't give a shit about selling Xboxes.
Xbox follow Nintendo's lead, but it's not just for the video games. This price hike has hit absolutely everything, and it reveals Microsoft's strategy. Take for an example the Series X. Why would you
look at this? 34 million subscribers. 34 million subscribers is the number currently. That's insane, man. That is freaking insane. Imagine you opened up the WoW sub to those 34 million people. That's a lot of new players.
Spend even more money on an Xbox now that the games will also be released on every other platform, especially when the Series X is now more expensive than a PS5 or a handheld PC. So we're all starting off on the same page. Xbox's last decade was a barely mitigated disaster. Okay, Game Pass was there to salvage their corporate narrative, but Sony utterly destroyed them 2 generations in a row. Reports even suggested that CEO Satya Nadella considered pulling out of games, culminating in a decision being made. On the one hand, pull out. On the other hand, double down. Satya.
I got 4 kids. I don't know how to pull out. But what I will say is, Microsoft's decision on how to handle that whole thing is basically making this. The hardware has become so expensive that making a console it's at a loss. Like, you can't sell an Xbox for $1,000. That's just not realistic. So selling it at the price they currently sell it at, basically what you need is people to buy games on the back end to really make it a profitable venture, because you're not going to profit a lot on an Xbox. If anything, you might lose. It might be a loss leader for you. So what you're doing at that point is hoping people buy the games. The Game Pass subscription has become their profit maker when it comes to the gaming sector. And it's a good model. You asked, what do I play on Real Blue on Game Pass? Halo. I did play Halo for a little while. I haven't in a while. My son's always on Minecraft, which is a Game Pass subscription game. Anytime like a new game will drop, a lot of times I'll just download it, play it for a weekend, and then delete it. I don't give a shit because I'm paying for it anyways. That's the really cool thing about it. You can try new games every single week. It doesn't matter. It's all part of the subscription. So I enjoy it. I think it's a great value for anyone who wants to play games. It's probably the best value. I have the PC/Xbox version of it, so you can download PC games as well. Like the remastered version of Age of Empires, a really cool one that I enjoyed playing for quite a while when it came out. There's a lot of good stuff to be had from it. It's a good value, really, it is.
Chose the latter. We do know, of course, that he spent over $76 billion on Bethesda. And
we already know, too, Overwatch, you'll never pay for Overwatch again. It's a Game Pass game. These Blizzard games are being integrated in. World of Warcraft is that special little game, right? What's going to happen with it going forward? We'll see if it ever gets integrated. To me, it would have to be the sub gets integrated. That'd be the major thing.
Vision Blizzard. Now, at the time, we thought that was all to get them more exclusives, ideally so that people would finally have a reason to buy the Xbox.
Overwatch is just free now, yeah.
Didn't really
part of Game Pass, free.
And perhaps that was the hope, but it was a fool's hope. That obviously didn't happen. Xbox is still behind, and that brings us to the...
I think if you have Game Pass and Overwatch, you get like some kind of features out of the seasonal content or something. There's something, there's a benefit to having Overwatch and Game Pass. I don't know how they integrated it, but they did.
Post
yes, it is free. I know.
Version of this company. Xbox are releasing games, and the thing is, players actually love them. I mean, right now, Indiana Jones and Oblivion are on
right,
my
Kate? It's
PS5.
crazy math.
I'm happy with them. And if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you've also just got Expedition 33 and Blue Prince. That's kind of wild. So basically, be it Game Pass, PS5, PC, or streamed to your television, Microsoft's got actually good games absolutely everywhere.
Great games, yeah.
And they're happy to make money from that, even if it means that they also are lining Sony's pockets, which they absolutely are. I don't want to shock you, but basically, this is Microsoft deciding to finally focus on selling software and making their money there.
I thought he was going somewhere else when he said soft there, but my mind is fucked up.
That in
I'll be
mind,
honest.
that we now dissect the price hike. Let's start with the most relevant increase, that to the actual games. So prices are going to increase for some new games to $80 later this year. And this absolutely is peak never waste a good crisis energy. Basically, by doing it now, by announcing it now, they're kind of hoping to avoid sticker shock later. And only some games...
Also, when like bad news comes, this is why you'll notice corporations do the same thing. When one corporation decides, okay, Amazon comes out like, we're going to lay off whatever, 500,000 people. Have you ever noticed that it starts like the snowball effect where all of a sudden all these announcements come out? It's because these companies hope to get lost in the sauce. Right now, Nintendo got all the backlash because they came out first and said our games are going to be X amount of dollars. I forgot what they said. That Mario Kart's like fucking $80 or something. So now all these other companies are saying, well, we had plans to release the price hikes. Let's just do it now because Nintendo's getting the shit beat out of them. We'll just kind of slide into their DMs and also release our shit so nobody else really... We don't get too much attention on our own. You're essentially getting lost in the sauce. As I said, everyone's just dropping the bad news all at once. And they do that all the time. So we're going to get a lot of these announcements right now. What does this mean? It's $80 games from Microsoft. If they're including these $80 games in Game Pass, what they're basically doing is just pushing you into Game Pass. That's what they're doing. They're like, fine, you don't want to join Game Pass? Buy the games for this much. $80, I mean, at what... For me, I think the double subscription thing is like $16 a month or something like that. I can't remember. I subscribed to it a while ago. I mean, you're going to have a lot of months built up for $80. Like, you look at that price and you're like, do I spend $80 right now? Or do I just sub and fucking it's going to cost me $80 over the next however many months, but I have this game plus all the other games that are available. Yeah, it's a big difference.
Call of Duty's the obvious contender. I'd say the big Xbox IPs like a new Gears of War game or the new Fable game, those will probably be $80. Though let's be real for a second, just look at Expedition 33 and what it was able to pull off for what, $49.99? It cost 45 quid in the UK, so that is a hell of a deal for a video game. Now, if you're to take a more AA feeling Microsoft game like, say, Outer Worlds 2, if that was to hit $80 in a world where Expedition 33 is like just over half of that, that's pretty rough. I have to wonder if a lot of these companies are going to start pricing themselves out of the market, and if it is the case that actually this $50 price range is going to start working really well. But anyway, that's the software price hike. Now I've got to talk about the hardware. These increases, to put it rather bluntly, just feel like an execution to me. And that's because unlike PlayStation and Nintendo, these are not restricted to any one set of regions, right? This is impacting the USA, Europe, UK, Australia, and unspecified other regions.
Okay.
They'll all see an increase, but I'm just going to use the US here as our working example, because there's actually a twist to that.
Because the US matters most, of course, yeah.
The Series S costs $80 more, and both digital and disc drive Series X's get a $100 increase. That means that the Series X is $100 more expensive than a PS5.
Wow.
And I mean, man, I think about the Series S. That was already a tough sell, given the limited performance of that machine and the low amount of storage that it ships with. $80 more than that? I struggle to make sense of that. Just buy a PS5. Anyway, base controller models are spared, but
yeah, just buy a PS5, sure. Microsoft doesn't care. They don't, because they're making Game Pass available to that too. So they're like, yeah, buy a PS5, just sub to Game Pass.
Special and limited editions are going to be $80 and $90, and then the Elite controller gets a $20 increase to $200.
Wow.
That's a lot of change. And the wireless headsets are going up $10 to $120. So basically,
they'll probably blame this on tariffs, but it's that this was just in the plans already, I bet.
Basically, ouch. And unlike with PlayStation, where they decided to defend their competitiveness in the US by only having the price increases elsewhere, these are actually hitting the US. And in terms of percentage increase, they're actually hitting the US harder. There's a fairly obvious reason why, so yeah. Let's just go explain that. When asked if tariffs are to blame, Microsoft actually declined to comment, but let's be honest, we all know that's going to be part of it.
It's going to affect it, of course.
I mean, you could say, right, we're 5 years into the generation. Maybe this is Xbox actually wanting to increase prices because, you know, global economy.
A lot of these companies already had plans to raise prices. Tariffs hit, so they're like, okay, we can raise them plus tariffs plus, you know, whatever we were going to raise them already. So it is a chance for them to kind of implement their price hikes. Xbox controllers, but no one strat video.
Maybe they want to set expectations for next time round so people don't get sticker shock at, I don't know, the Xbox Series X2 or whatever the hell they call it. But no, the tariffs are almost certainly part of it. As an example, analysts like Daniel Ahmad point out that under the current tariff rules, the Xbox consoles would be facing a 145% tariff cost after being imported from China, and then the physical discs for games, which are imported from Mexico, well, those are still going to face a 10% tariff. All that shit adds up, and as for why everyone else in the world would have to go up as well it's fairly obvious.
Offset
it's to cushion the American changes, because they're probably not going to pass on literally.
I said this before, and when you remember we came alive, guys, and all the tariff shit was happening, and some of you guys were like, well, I don't live in the U.S., so it doesn't matter. I'm like, fuck yeah, it does. It does matter, because the tariffs are going to raise prices to a point where they just can't put it on the Americans' back to carry the tariff prices. So what are they going to do? Raise it across the board for everybody to kind of soften the blow of what's going to happen in the U.S. That's what happens. Yep, the U.S. gets fucked, everybody else gets came on. That's basically what happens.
All of the price increase, so they'll, increase everyone else as well.
Excuse the analogy.
And, basically to avoid backlash, which is to say, if they were going to retain their margin on what they sell in America, and they weren't to do price increases elsewhere, the American price would have to go up more than it is. So basically, everyone gets a price rise in order to subsidize the American one, so it's not as high as it would otherwise be. Obviously, some of that's directly because of tariffs. I think we could also say maybe, right? Maybe Microsoft don't expect the 145% tariffs to increase, but they're basically saying, listen, there's uncertainty, there's chaos, and we don't want to waste that chaos.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's saying the same thing I just said. There's uncertainty, there's chaos. We wanted to raise the prices anyways. Let's just do it now. Let's do it now. Whether or not these tariffs have the same impact that we're estimating they'll have, or new trade deals come into place, it doesn't matter. We wanted to raise the prices anyways, so let's just go for it.
Good increase.
We have an excuse now.
That'll defend our margins long into the future. And look over there. Nintendo is obviously doing it. PlayStation is obviously doing it. If as a whole industry we know Sam pre-watches these numbers, then we all defend our margin.
I don't pre-watch these, okay? I just have a very strong understanding of corporate America and economics, all right? It's amazing, I know. It surprises you guys at times, but it is what it is.
That's basically what's going on. But here's the thing. With this generation of consoles, stuff's actually kind of different. So in the past, we had, let's just say less things competing for our silicon wafers. And that ultimately meant that with your Xbox One and your PS4, they were able to slice the prices of them down year after year after year. That has not happened this time around. It's widely reported that margins on the modern consoles are extremely thin.
They're freaking non-existent at this point.
We are seeing less discounts and less deep discounts this time around than we did last time. Now, some of that's because, let's be real, there's not much of a competition. If you're Sony, why would you do a massive price gouge? It's not like Microsoft are really nipping at your heels. But even taking incentives like that into account, it absolutely does seem the case that no, the margins are genuinely thinner. That's rough for profitability. It's why we see these price hikes, but it's also in line with Microsoft's thinking. You see, the consoles they just price hiked weren't selling well at all, and to get an understanding of how badly, well, rather fortunately, all of this news directly followed Microsoft's discussion of their financial results, so we can dig into their finances and see just how badly hardware's been going. All of this happened hours after Microsoft briefed their investors in their Q3 reporting. Basically, that's where they reported that hardware in particular was just having a battering, and according to reporting in the earnings call from Windows Central, their sales for hardware decreased by 6%. And the sad news for them, right, is that this is actually a slower decrease than previous quarters. So, silver linings and all.
Yeah.
And basically,
well, it might also be the thing that people are making the purchases earlier Right, like that happened with automotive industry. I know because I live in Detroit. That's what all the fucking shit is going on here. All the automotive companies, reported like huge purchases going on in the first quarter of the year, and that's like the pre-tariff scare, basically, where people are afraid the prices are going to go up, so more people are purchasing ahead of time, being worried that, okay, well, I was going to buy it in 2 or 3 months, but I should just buy it now because the price is going to go up. That's probably what happened with Xbox too. While they did see a decrease, he just said it was less than usual, less than previous consoles or previous months even. And that's probably because anyone who's planning on buying an Xbox this year probably just bought it now because they're like, well, the Xbox is going to go up in price. And look, they were right. If they did buy it, they're pretty happy now because it did go up.
Damning by faint praise, I would say. It's like,
Have you
hey,
had any
we're
bullets
bleeding
falling
out,
out? No.
but we're bleeding out ever so slightly slower. Obviously, if those sales were declining, I have a feeling that the price increases will just make them decline even more. But elsewhere, PC Game Pass users grew 45%
There it
year on
is.
year. That's pretty goddamn substantial.
That's great.
Their cloud gaming reached new record usage counts with 150 million hours streamed, and that all contributed to a wider 8% growth for the content and services element of Xbox.
That's it. That's
really
where it's
is
at.
a big one. In particular, this was likely driven by Xbox becoming, quote, the biggest publisher in PlayStation. Which is absolutely true. With, say, Call of Duty alongside the ports for
It's a smart strategy. You're letting PlayStation take the brunt of the hit on the low margin console selling business, and you're taking the basically massive margin software side of it, right? 45% of the games freaking being played on PlayStation, what is this, as a PC Game Pass, it's 45% year-over-year growth. Okay? That freaking massive amount of growth, and a lot of people are playing their Game Pass games on PlayStation.
Indiana Jones and Forza driving loads of growth there. And that basically means that their non-exclusive model for games is actually working.
Yeah.
And that's with them barely digging into their library. So in this context, the pricing changes actually make even more sense. So basically, I'll put it this way. If hardware is underperforming and it's only selling to the most hardcore audience, then that's maybe the group of people who would be able to stomach the price increases. Perhaps the most price and value sensitive customers have already made the call not to go Xbox. Like everybody, they probably just saw that PS5 was going to be dominant, so they backed the winner, right? Which would make sense. Now, there's no point in producing a machine that you're going to be selling at a loss if you're not selling it in the first place. The whole business model with consoles, selling at a loss, being a loss leader, is you grow your store, right?
Yeah.
And then you get the 30% of everything you sell on that store. With Xbox being small, there's just less of an incentive there for Microsoft. I mean, you could even say there's a justification for increasing the price of the Series S after games like EA College Football, in fact, drove sales for it massively. There could be that. Then with the release of the Switch 2 at $450, it does actually mean that the cheapest way to play those games is still on a Series S, but it's only by $20. Let's be real. It's a Series S. Anyway, the growth of the platform in PlayStation, though, that justifies price increases for the likes of your Call of Duties. Even with PlayStation's 30% cut of sales, think about it this way. $56 out of an $80 game is a lot better than $49 from a $70 game. And if it's something that you know is going to sell like crazy, like Call of Duty, then hey, it's really easy. And the thing with Call of Duty is, yeah, people buy that. They buy it for full price. They do so regularly. And even when other companies try to compete with Call of Duty by going free, guess what happens? People don't go to the free thing. They sample it, and they pretty much immediately go back to Call of Duty. So, of course, they think they'll be able to get an extra $10 there. But for Microsoft, it's not just that. The knock-on effects of all of this play straight into another part of their strategy. So, PC Game Pass and Ultimate subscriptions are still a major earner for Microsoft. And since the PlayStation audience doesn't have access to that service, it's either pay full price for Xbox's desirable games or move off Sony's platform to get them on the subscription.
Or go get a PC. That's right. I mean, they're just not Blizzard. Microsoft's it's honestly a Giga Chad move on their part. It really is. You're essentially making a shit ton of money off of the PlayStation people while PlayStation is trying to sell low margin consoles, and you're backing up from it. You're like, hey, that's fine. You want to get your PlayStation? That's fine. You can either pay for our games that you really want full price and play it on your PlayStation, or you can have a PC or something, maybe an Xbox, and get Game Pass. Yeah, and just have it all at once.
Subscription service. So in a way, Microsoft are setting it up so that either one of their business models will win. That's
Yep.
the entire
They give you
way
two
they've
options.
architected everything. Whereas for Sony, well, exclusives are their moat. The whole point of Sony making exclusives be their moat, the thing that is completely
Pushes
unique,
their console
was
sales.
that you had to get a PlayStation console.
Yeah.
And that's how Sony would basically continually be ahead. What Microsoft has done is, in a way, called their bluff by appealing to some of their own incentives. So to be fair to Microsoft, as much as they've done so much damage, they've actually been fairly smart in re-architecting their business.
They have.
That's what gets me to our final topic today, which is the future and how all this is going to shake out. Because let's be real, gaming in the next 5 years is going to be very different to, say, gaming of 10 years ago. At this point,
Sure.
if someone working for Xbox marketing isn't working on a plan to get Game Pass deals out across every available platform to offer, the affordable new way to play games, then they're basically failing at their jobs.
Yeah, all these handheld consoles too, like the Steam Deck and all this shit, and what Lenovo dropped one, I believe. Like all of these, if you can get Game Pass on them, oh my god, you just opened up your PC games to everything. And I'm talking about that Game Pass Ultimate or whatever it's called, the one that goes cross-platform. That's the one I have. It's really good. It gives you your games everywhere.
If stuff's going up in price, Game Pass just looks even better.
Yeah.
If times are tough and you position yourself as the value king, that's pretty good. Even if it means that you're positioning yourself as the value king by hiking your prices and then offering a solution to the problem you just caused by hiking your price.
Create the problem and offer the solution. Genius.
In the form of Game Pass. But even Game Pass is likely to see a price rise in the future. We've all seen the patterns, and there have already been price increases. Last summer, Xbox rebuilt all their offerings for console players to encourage upgrading to the higher value tier. $20 a month for Ultimate and access to day one games is still a fairly good deal compared to an $80 upfront cost. But will we see another price increase this summer? If Game Pass's own history and other subscription services are anything to go by, yeah, we absolutely should expect a price increase. And even with your additional benefits...
There it is, Game Pass Ultimate. That's the one I have, where it gives you PC games and the Xbox games, $20 a month. Yep.
Expect a price increase. And even with your additional benefits like your Xbox Play Anywhere and all those other things, I think it still would be a steep ask for customers in the coming months, right, as these games filter out. At least they do have quite a lot of games coming. But for me, after going through their data, the main thing that stands out is the 45% growth for PC Game Pass.
That's crazy.
That's real strong growth. So they basically have a decision to make. Do they, in line with what they did over on console, re-architect that towards profitability and margin? Or do they keep PC Game Pass as something that is still a ridiculously good value as compared to its console counterpart? I'd say right now, they know how far behind they are over on PC, so they're probably going to keep PC Game Pass, relatively speaking, the better deal. But no matter what way you slice it, across all of this, it comes back to their change business model, that it is all about games and lots of games.
Yeah.
They just need their pipeline of games to come out like clockwork. Speaking of clockwork, there's Clockwork Revolution, you've got State of Decay, Perfect Dark. Keep all of that going while still looking for your Game Pass titles like your Blueprints and your Expedition 33s. Ultimate Game Pass look like a deal so good you would be stupid not to buy it. But if you don't, well, they control the games that are really good, and you will buy them on your PlayStation. So yeah, who cares about selling Xboxes when they're caring about selling the thing that actually makes them money? At least that's their plan. In many ways it's smart, but let's be real, people are anxious about price. Life's actually pretty damn hard. Markets are changing, etc., etc., etc. And that's why this next story stood out to me, because there's a sort of new business model.
Oh yeah, we talked about this, the free to share.
A game that is published by the Moreheims that it's trying out. It's not shareware, but it is free to share. It's a little different, it's not the norm, but even within 2025, it's already a model that's shifted millions of copies. You can find out more about that in the next video.
No, great video. And yeah, the industry's changing, and Microsoft is leading the charge, honestly, on the software, in terms of software and subscription-based side of it. So it's really good, and they own World of Warcraft, guys. So it could affect the games that we play from Blizzard on the back end. We'll see. For me, the ultimate would be fucking integrating the WoW sub into Game Pass. I wish. Will we ever see it? I think things might have to get kind of desperate for that to actually happen, but who knows? We'll have to see. Nice video from Bellular.